Hey everybody, welcome to Seattle Public Utilities Ask Evelyn Live, where we answer your questions about recycling, compost, garbage, and other trashy topics. I'm your host, Becca Fong, and this week it's by request only. We're going to be talking about single-use plastic and kind of how things are changing in the world of takeout. We are so happy that you guys are joining us. We missed you last week, but hope that everybody's safe and as warm as you could be holiday. And we're really excited to start off this year
Hey,
with a really great episode. Hi, Pat.
hey, Becca, how you doing?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Oh my gosh.
2022. Ask
Can't
Evelyn Live.
Oh my gosh, I know. Can you believe it? Thank you guys all who are tuning in. We are so excited to be kicking off yet another year with you guys. So, Pat, we're doing by request only, so you've got a good question for us to kick us off.
I do. Let's get right to it. Question comes from Carlos. He says, "Hi, Evelyn. Are disposable utensils still available when I get takeout? I saw a flyer at my local restaurant that said something about this. Can you please explain? Thanks, Carlos." Well, quick answer, Becca.
All right, so with a new year, something kicked off in the land of takeout in your local restaurant. So starting on January 1st, there are several things that are by request only. So it includes utensils, straws, condiment packets, and cup lids for cold beverages. There we go. See our commercial lead? He's right on top of it there. So Pat, let's get into those details that you're showing us.
Well, good. Yeah. So it's a fun law. I like it a lot because it's going to reduce a lot of unwanted and unnecessary materials.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah, I mean, you had the basics of it pretty straight. It's all these utensils that we've been getting for years, forever, since they've been making them without needing them oftentimes. And so we're going to see restaurants now offering them available to customers or upon request. So it's not that when you get a takeout order or a to-go order, they will not just put these materials in the bag without you asking for them. That's not allowed. What is still allowed is that they can still put them out at the the coffee and creamer station at your coffee shop. There will still be forks and spoons available there. So that's sort of like the upon request space, right?
Okay.
The folks who work at the restaurants and coffee shops, they still will offer them. That means to confirm the request. So there's like different ways that the request can happen and the customer then chooses. The whole point is it's up to the customer, okay?
Right.
The whole point is that it's upon request. That's one way of saying it. And what we're trying to do, from the state's perspective, is just reduce costs for the restaurants.
Right.
It's like they're doing this as like the mode of operation for years. And just think of the number. There's something like 1 trillion different single-use items wasted a year, and it's out of control. So, in Seattle, we have certain laws. So this is layers upon the Seattle law.
Right.
The Seattle law requires any single-use utensils must be compostable. So, I have a couple props here. You've seen the classic red or, white plastic forks and things, but oftentimes you see these brown ones, which are compostable. And these are the ones that are compliant in Seattle. This law just really changes, as I said before, the ability for the food service businesses to be, offering these things or upon request to the customer rather than just automatically shoving them in the bag without wanting them. But I think we were chatting about this before. It's kind of becoming the norm anyway. It's almost like the law is right in sync. Now, some restaurants, so we see it a lot of times as customers, and I don't know. I think we've become more of a takeout order household than even before the pandemic. But we have quite a few of these containers and utensils and stuff in our car, just handy, available to us when like you have that as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean folks who watch our show, it's like, Pat and I are really we're never going to miss an eating opportunity. Yeah. And so I think that you are right, is that a lot of restaurants, they're expensive too, right? Is that supply chain issues are hitting everybody. And stuff like this is expensive. It's an additional cost for your local small businesses, for any business really, but the margins are even smaller for your small business. So if they're not providing forks and condiment packets to every single person, that helps them and their bottom line, which is great. But totally, I mean, we were on the road for the holiday and I've got my mess kit, right? Because again, I don't want to miss an eating opportunity. And I've got, plastic cups, I've got plates, which came in handy. I went and got pizza at a place, a little tiny shop, and they asked me if I wanted plates. And I was like, I'm good. I got myself covered, right? And it was great because then they didn't have to buy plates that they would then give to me. They could give them to somebody else, and I was totally all covered. another thing to think about too is that, you know, a lot of takeout, especially with the pandemic, is we're taking it home, right? Like there are occasions when you're going to be, you know, eating out in a park or something like that, and you're not going to have utensils, and that's why it's by request only. So that stuff is still totally available to you. But if you're taking it home, like I have this great example, you know, like, you know, you could get the little soy sauce packets, which are now covered by the request only, right? Or when you go home, you get your own soy sauce, right? Like, I don't need these.
And that is a very cute soy sauce container, I might add. I've not seen that one.
Hello man, we love us some Hello Kitty at this house. So, you know, but it's like all kinds of things. Ketchup, forks, utensils, all that stuff is at your house. So if you're already home, you actually don't need to consume any single-use items. So I think that that's a really interesting thing to think about. And you're right. I mean, we were looking at the figures that it is 1 trillion disposable serviceware items get used annually in the United States alone, which is mind-boggling. I can't even really wrap my brain around what 1 trillion.
100 billion. I mean, it's
that's
like
a lot.
So that's a lot of units. Yeah, it's a lot of production. That's a lot of petroleum mine. That's a lot of, you know, delivery. It's truck loads. It's container loads. It's cost to the restaurants. We all want our food costs to stay, you know, fairly reasonable and stable. Well, this is a real cost to restaurants, one that they have to continually incur. And so, you know, it's kind of like the state is doing something. Also, I was going to mention that this is something that's a statewide law, as you mentioned, and that Seattle has had our requirements in place, and Burien and Issaquah and, you know, other cities around Puget Sound have had these requirements. Other cities across the state have had similar requirements around the bag ban or different utensils and compostable requirements. But this becomes a statewide requirement. So it's kind of nice that it's going to be the same across the state. All these restaurants that may have a location in Seattle and one outside of Seattle, they can just operate the same in both areas, and it will become more standard and understood. But yeah, what we were saying before is a lot of restaurants were just doing this already. You know, they were just asking, do you need the forks? You know, do you want, how many ketchups do you want? Not do you want ketchups, like how many, you know, is commonly asked. Like how many tartars, you know, 2, 3, 1? So
how much tartar are you really going to eat?
Yeah.
Right.
So we really, you know, we're sort of, like I said, I don't know which came first, this initiative by the state, or some of the cities have done some things, or really the market has just kind of moved into this space, saying with supply chain issues and such, it's like these poor restaurants are having to, you know, purchase more certain products, and it's hard to get certain things. But yeah, the mess kit we have in our car, in the glove box, we have a baggie full of like the extra napkins and some of the forks and some durables. You can either, you know, just keep a couple of your plastic units, there you go, around, or you can put some durable ones that are reusable in there as well. One other little part about the law is my printer ran out of colored ink, but the idea is that the cold cups, that's kind of a question we've gotten before on that. So a hot lid for a hot cup of coffee or something, there's no need to request that. You will get your coffee with a hot lid. But a cold beverage, you'll be wanting to make that request. They'll probably ask you if you want the lid at the drive-thru or whatever. But that is what's covered because it's deemed unnecessary. Not for safety reasons is it necessary. But so that's just a heads up on that. Cold beverages, you'll have to make that request or respond to the question, whichever.
Or drink your beverage really fast. That'd be
you know,
drinking it down.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Totally. So, I mean, I think that also, you know, you talked about kind of the environmental impact. We're not extracting as much, really helping your local businesses out because they're not going to have to be paying for these things. And then with supply chain issues, that eases things up. And then also kind of like meeting the customer demand, where before we were kind of expecting those things as consumers, versus now, you know, we talk a lot about reuse culture. That's becoming a much bigger thing, bringing your own stuff.
BYOB.
And we're just bringing all those things together with what this law is now in place for. So it's a win-win for everybody. And it just kind of, you know, sets the norm too, is that we really don't need to be consuming all this disposable plastic stuff. You know, there are times when it's needed, but not every time. So that really kind of moves the needle on that general ethos as well, which is awesome. Like,
yeah. I will still be requesting my ketchup packets when I'm on the go, and I want ketchup because I want my full meal experience, you know.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna right, exactly. But if I'm headed home, I'm gonna squirt it out of the bottle at home. I'm not gonna, you know, use those packets. So that's good. And then also, just like you said, the BYO, bring your own, you know, kind of
bring your own.
What you're doing in your car with your family, what we're trying to do in our car as well. just a little bit. Also in the backpack, you know, you can shove one little plastic fork or spoon in your backpack, carry it with you, have it handy. Those kinds of efforts. Those are the kind of the plus. Those are the efforts we're really hoping people will do. Just to kind of eliminate the whole need from the consumer in the first place. That's a good way to go as well.
Totally. All right, Carlos, really great question.
Yeah.
I know that all of you guys who tune in to Ask Evelyn are really on board with the reuse. So spread the word. You know, it's going to be the norm, which is fantastic. That kind of gets everybody on board just to use less stuff. So we got a couple of quick reminders this week. So that snow was rough. So we appreciate everybody's patience out there. To give you a little bit of update, our collection drivers are out there working their butts off to really navigate the streets, make sure that they're safe to travel, because those trucks are heavy. Those trucks weigh tons and tons without waste in them, and then you add the waste in them and they're even heavier. So we want to make sure that the drivers are safe. We want to make sure you're all safe. We want to make sure your property is safe out there. So we're working as hard as we can to pick that up. So if you did get missed, and if you've been missed twice, just leave your stuff out and we're trying to catch up as quickly as we can. We totally appreciate your patience. If you feel like stuff is really piling up kind of crazy, you can certainly bring like your extra recycling. I know it's been, you know, with all of the different holidays, a lot of packaging has come in. Right. You can certainly bring your recycling at any time, but it's a good reminder to bring it to the transfer station for free, both North and South transfer. You can just roll up with that stuff and drop it off with us. Especially with the holidays. I mean, there's so many like boxes and packaging and wrapping and stuff. So, you know, taking your recyclables to the transfer station might be a good option for some folks. It's easy to do. You just pull in, you know, you just use the recycling containers off on the right. You just tell the folks in the scale house, I'm just doing recycling. There's no charge. Just come in and do recycling for free. It's all good. And then also, on the collection, you know, these companies, Waste Management and Ecology, they're doing great work for us. They want to do the collection, believe me. They get paid when they do the collection. They want to do the collection. Nobody's trying to avoid this, you know. So it's happening. It's going to come around. And then holiday greens too, right, Becca? We're still doing that. Oh, yeah. So for those of you who are on top of your game, which does not include me at this moment, and you have taken your trees down, if you celebrate with trees or holiday greens, you can put those out and we will pick those up for free this month through the month of January. You can also take those to the transfer station. You can take up to 3 trees at a time. Make sure all your decorations are off of those things so they can go right into the yard waste and get composted. Same with wreaths and swags and stuff. Like when I eventually get around to taking mine down, I'm going to unwrap them, take the ribbons off, and then put all the greens together for collection. And that's every week you can put out your greens or your trees. If you have like some massive tree, we ask that you cut it in half to be about, 4 to 6 feet in length. And that's mainly so they fit into the collection truck. That's right. So if you're a family that has 6 trees, you're going to want to put 3 out a week. You get 2 weeks. You can put your 3 out at a time. Absolutely. And if you are a family with those 6 trees, I want to see some pictures of 6 trees because that is amazing. Way to throw it down for the holidays. That is some holiday cheer. I'm telling you. Absolutely. I'm all in. All right, folks, we are so excited. Those of you who tuned in to join us for the live show and those who are watching us afterwards, thank you so much. We are so excited to be back and to be kicking off 2022 with you. And we will see you next week. Make sure to send us your questions because this show is run on your questions. You can send us messages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can send us an email at askevelyn@seattle.gov. And until next week, I'm Becca Fung. Life's simpler with less stuff. And I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. We'll see you next week. Bye. Bye.